Okay, so let's talk about switch configuration, the basic switch configuration today. By the way, if you look at our website, I want you to look at the switching concept slide, right? I kind of briefly went over this slide. So please, before you take a look at the switch configuration slide, please make sure to read switching concept PPT first. Okay, so let's talk about switch configuration PPT today. Okay, we'll take a look at the second slide, switch configuration PPT. Okay. So this is important page switching process. So for example, a switch. I briefly talked about this in the class, but let me just review one more time. When a switch receive a frame, you first look at the source MAC address. Okay. And the source MAC address is in the chem table, okay, of the switch. Then it simply said, hey, I'm going to update a 5 minutes timer. And if the source MAC address is not in the table, then add source MAC address table as and an incoming port number. So MAC address, I mean, if you look at the MAC table, this table usually has what? Source MAC address and then incoming port. Okay, that's the content of the MAC table. So basically, if the source MAC address is in the table, then they'll keep that MAC address in the chem table for another 5 more minutes. Okay, now it has a forwarding stage. This forwarding stage is called flooding stage, or it's broadcasting stage. In layer 2, people usually do not use the word broadcasting. They use the word flooding. So in the forwarding stage, right, when the switch receives a frame, now I need to forward that frame to destination host. So once the switch receives a frame, and then look at that destination MAC address of that frame. And if the destination MAC address is in the chem table, then you're going to forward that frame only out to that port. So it doesn't have to broadcast, so it doesn't have to flood. And if the destination MAC address is not in the table, then forward that frame only out of all the ports except the incoming port. So this process is called flooding. Okay, so this is very important slide. So I want you to read this. And then basically the switch has many different kinds of capacities. So typically the Cisco 29 or 28 or 19 series, they're called access layer switches. The capacity is not as big as like 4,000 or 5,000 series. So if you look at the switch, typically a switch can be categorized into three types. One is access switch. That's kind of small switch, like usually 1900 or 28, 29 series switches will be used for the access layer. And then there's a distribution layer, and then there's a core layer. These switches will be the switches used in the core layer. They have a higher capacity. They can even deal with the IP addresses, the layer switch. So if you see this icon, that means the switch can also can deal with the layer 3, which is IP address. So for our class, our focus is going to be on the access switch, access type switch. So you just read this on your own. Now, let's just go over a couple of switch command. Okay. Let's just run the netsim. So it'll take some time. Okay, now this is post netsim, right? So go to net map. Go to net map and then add device. For this class, we want to use 29 series, right? And then in particular, we're going to use 2960. It's just 24 ports. So I'm going to create a switch. Then go to net map and apply selected topology. Just we're going to use one device. So let's just go with a couple of commands. Just like a switch, just like a router, you can do enable mode. You can get into enable mode. In the enable mode, you can type all the show command, show. So the first command that you should know is show interface. Okay? So the switch has, you know that it has what? How many? 24 ports, right? So when you type show interface, it shows all the 24 status or the information of all the 24 ports. So if you want to see a particular, if you want to look at the information on a particular interface, you type show interface. And then let's say look at the first port, which is a fast Ethernet port. You can just say fast Ethernet at 0/1 that slash, or you can say just simply FA01. Okay. Either way, you can fully specify the port name, or you can simply say FA01. Yeah. So it has what? It's a fast Ethernet port. Right. And then there's a duplex auto speed. And here's a MAC address. So each port has a MAC address. It has some useful information about this Ethernet port. So now this Ethernet port is down because no piece is connected yet to this particular port. So it's down now. That's the useful command, show interface, or show interface name of interface. Now show VLAN. So by default, VLAN 1 is assigned to all the ports. So when I type show VLAN, VLAN means a virtual LAN, local area network. So by default, all these ports belong to a LAN, local area network, a virtual local area network called number 1. Okay. But later on, we can change this. For example, port 1 and 2 can belong to IDS LAN, and port 3 and 4 is belong to finance, local area network, VLAN. And so we can change this number. For now, we have not done anything. All the ports belong to VLAN 1 by default. So show flash, I don't know whether this is going to work, but let's try show flash. basically show the file structure in this switch. Show version, and then if you have a VLAN database in the flash, you can also delete this. Delete the VLAN database, or you can and then erase startup conf. Basically, if you want to start with the real beginning, then you should delete the virtual LAN database, and then you just delete setup configurations. Then you can simply reload. Then you can really start from the beginning. You just delete everything by saying deleting the VLAN database and erase startup configuration. Then when you type reload, you can really starting from the beginning. Okay, now the same thing, the line console, you can set the password, login password, just like a router. And then you can also use host name. Now, this is interesting. This is something that you should spend a little more time. Now, if you want to set the IP address of for a switch, and then if you want to set the IP address and gateway address for a switch, and this is something that you should do. This is what you should use. So first, interface, and then name of the VLAN. It could be interface VLAN 1. VLAN 1, we know that is a default VLAN, right? Or you can say interface IDS, interface finance, if we have finance or IDS interface with the VLAN. And why we need to set up the IP address and then gateway IP address for a switch? Because system admin, right? Administrator should system admin may need to log into a switch from the remote place, and then then you need to know the IP address and gateway. You need to know the system admin need to know the IP address of the switch. This is one reason that you have to set up the IP address and gateway IP address of the switch. And this is how you can speed. Each port you can set the speed and duplex setting. This is not important. Okay, so this is very important. By type show MAC address table, you can see the MAC address table. So see, this is like source port number here, and then port VLAN, and here's a port number. So in the MAC table, there are two important things. Destination port, so this is source MAC address or the MAC address of a host, right? Which is connected to this port 02. So this means, so if you look at this MAC table, the switch, the host whose MAC address is 0010786087E, right? This host is connected to port 02. Okay, that's how you should read this MAC table. At this point, we have not connected to this switch. No PC has connected to this switch, so the MAC table now is empty. So that's the I'm done with the basic switch configuration. Let me